I knew it. I knew it. Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez, they are onto something. And I had a feeling when I read Batman #1 that this was really going somewhere. In my mind, I said to myself, Self, this could turn out to be nothing. But when I tell you Batman #2, and let me tell you, so I had to order this from Midtown Comics because my local comic shop was out. This is actually not mine's. This issue belongs to someone else, and I borrowed it and I read it. And I'm telling you, this book right here is incredible. It is incredible. Matt Fraction's ability to create a connected story that you don't really need to read the prior story to understand is crazy incredible. That's a skill right there in and of itself as a writer. I respect it. This book, the storyline, it picks up. So this is the thing. It picks up right at the ending of the last Batman book. And it's, even though it's a continuation of what was happening, it doesn't feel like you need that other book in order to read this one and understand everything you're seeing. Yo, when I tell you that it was done well, and Jorge Jimenez, his art, he is a shining star. I'm glad that there are still artists today that are following in the footsteps of the greats and really creating some great visuals. And again, Jorge Jimenez is a shining star. I love art like this. The story was fulfilling. You kind of get the sense that Gotham City is something else in this book. The police are at odds with Batman, of course, because you have Commissioner Savage. And you know how that's working out. He doesn't like Batman, and he's moving and shaking. And you see some of his shadiness come out in this book, just in case you thought he might have been rehabilitated and actually a good guy. No, Savage is not a good guy in this book. Even though he is the commissioner, you know very quickly, oh yeah, this dude isn't to be trusted. The storyline is great. The issue presents Batman facing against the police, and you see some of the aggression of the police toward Batman. But even with that aggression, there's an officer that kind of has a hesitation like, yo, but isn't he the good guy? So you have two warring partners along with Batman trying to address things going on in the city. And man, so many things happen. The police, like I said, this begins spoilers. There will be spoilers. I'm letting you know right now. It begins with the police stopping Robin. He stopped this criminal. The criminal gets up to run. The policeman shoots the criminal. Robin's like, what the heck's going on? So as they're hashing that out, Robin goes to escape. He shoots Robin. I'm like, oh my goodness. Of course, it wasn't a fatal wound, but he shot him, put him in handcuffs. They throw him in the back of this wagon. Robin gets in a fight with some of the people in the back of the wagon. Of course, Batman knows what's going on. He's coming to his defense. The whole thing. And the thing is, this wasn't like a story that was so far out there and had so many moving pieces that it was just mind-boggling. It wasn't that. It was just the fact that the story was done so tight. You didn't need to know or read anything else to get it. And they had flashbacks to Damian Wayne watching Bruce as he trained Tim. And you see Damian Wayne in his jealous mode, right? And he's a very stubborn young man. He believes that the things his father has him doing is beneath him. He has him washing the Batmobile. Little tidbits like that as they throw that in, and you kind of see how Tim was shaped as Robin and what makes him a good Robin. It doesn't go in great detail, but you get to see some of that, and that inner working. Again, Matt Fraction did a very good job of doing all of that. And in this, it highlights the skill level of Tim Drake as Robin. Extremely skilled Robin. Does a great job, has quick wit, able to assess a situation, good with his hand, good combatant. Like this is, I was like, yo, and there was action, like not right out the gate, but man, it was pretty close to right out the gate. So I wanted to read from this article right here. I found this website called geekdad.com. And it's a review of Batman #2. I wanted to get it in someone else's words, not just what I say. I try to, when I read a book, especially like this, and get a review, I'm like, okay, what does somebody else say about this? Is it just me that enjoys this so much? So of course, Matt Fraction, Jorge Jiménez, you see the colorist, Tomeu Morey. I think that's how you say that. Okay. Ray, the first issue of Matt Fraction's new run pitted Batman against a mutated Killer Croc, but now he might have an even deadlier enemy: the police brutality. Yeah, because the police force, yeah, they are literally brutal in this book, and it's not in the way. So the way Matt Fraction did this, it's not like he's trying to play on a modern issue. That's not how he did this. It's just the police under Savage and under Commissioner Savage, and they're unleashed, right? Like we all have things about us that are kept in check, right? As a believer, the Holy Spirit keeps me in check. Not to make this spiritual, this is my comic book podcast, but in the police force, even people who are unsaved are kept in check by let's say, the rule of law, a commissioner that's an upstanding dude. But imagine a force that's under someone like Savage, who really doesn't have those guardrails. Well, everyone who is more inclined to do something that is brutal will do it. Commissioner Savage has declared open season on vigilantes, and Tim Drake has found himself in the clutches. A flashback to several years ago shows Bruce training Tim to drive the Batmobile for the first time, something that doesn't come naturally to him, and something that enrages a young Damian even more than he's usually enraged. But in the present day, Tim intervenes when a pair of police officers set upon some petty criminals with orders to shoot to kill. He winds up taking a bullet himself while trying to stop them, and one particularly sadistic policeman decides to take a wounded Tim to prison in a van, one filled with several unchained gangbangers who would love to get their revenge on a Robin. And of course, you see some of the art here from some of the panels of this book. Very well done. I always say the best artists, so there's a mix, right? We see the art from Skin Breakers yesterday, and it was extremely detailed. And a great artist can do one of two things. A great artist can go extreme on the detail, but yet still keep the art tight, because some artists do so much detail, you lose things within that detail. But some artists are able to give you detail just enough to have exactly what you need to have a well-defined lines in art. Jorge Jiménez, he can do just that. This issue is highly intense, and I agree. There's one shot where one of the police officers gives Batman a shot to the head while he's turned with a shotgun. Now, obviously, his his cowl is armor plated, everything is armor plated, but he gets his head wrung pretty bad. Like, these officers, or at least one of them, was really trying to kill Batman, showing just how low the police officers are willing to sink in the city under Savage's orders. One of them is clearly the type of guy who will just follow orders no matter how cruel, while the other is a violent psychopath. This is one of the best spotlight issues for Tim we've gotten in a while. And the partnership between him and Batman feels really genuine, both as Batman and Robin and as father and son. There are scenes in this issue that are genuinely funny and some that are almost unbearably tense. Fraction said that every one of his issues will be done in one, and that's not exactly true. Both issues have had a cliffhanger so far, but this comic feels like it's more about capturing surprising moments in day-to-day work of the Bat family than it is in building an epic storyline. And it works really well so far. This is a much-needed breath of fresh air after so many runs, putting Gotham itself at stake right away. Yo, I agree. And I'll tell you what I think, just as I said. Yes, there's a cliffhanger, but I'm convinced you could still pick up the next issue even with the cliffhanger and you'll be okay. That's the idea. That's the impression I got from reading this. Even if I knew nothing, like I said, about the last issue, this would still be a banger. This book is a banger, in my humble opinion. Well worth it.